G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Osiris Frost and Algared. How you guys doing today?
Fairly well.
Doing good. How are you?
Freezing my butt off and I got a really itchy beard, but we'll get past that sooner or later. Alright, so on the back of Invictus Fleet Week and the Drake Defense Con sale, we thought it was high time, now the Cutlass Blue has joined the lineup, that we would do a Cutlass buyer's guide going through all three variants and talking about their strengths and weaknesses and our recommendations. So, sorry, so we'll start off with the black. Tell us about the black, please.
The Cutlass Black is currently one of the best all-around ships for the gameplay that exists in Star Citizen right now. It's an extremely versatile ship. You can do all kinds of missions with it. And furthermore, I like to think of it as sort of the poor man's Valkyrie. And if you guys remember our Valkyrie Buyer's Guide episode back when that ship came out, we pointed out that for the price of the Valkyrie, for less than the price of the Valkyrie, you can get 3 Cutlass Blacks. You can transport 3 times as many vehicles, the same number of troops, and disperse your target footprint between 3 ships, which are harder to take out by anti-aircraft.
All true. I also see it as kind of like an upgraded Avenger, but it is a little bit more like it's a 2-person Avenger, but it's a little bit more expensive. All right. I guess we'll just go straight on to the red. Algared, do you want to tell me about the Cutlass Red, please?
Cutlass Red is reduced functionality compared to the blue and the black. It loses its missile hardpoints. It loses the weapons on a turret. So it is significantly weaker. You trade that to get 2 hospital beds, which at the moment are really good because you can set them as your ICU beds and respawn point. But that will change later in the game. It's only got the lowest tier bed, which means it can only stabilize someone. It's not going to be able to respawn you. If you want that functionality, you've got to go to the Apollo, which has the 2 med beds, which can actually go to 2 tier top tier beds or medium beds or 6 of the low tier beds like the Red's got. One advantage of a Red at the moment is you've still got 12 units of cargo, so you can set a spawn point and use it to do cargo runs if you're doing small amounts. But based on that and based on the limitations, I really find it hard to say go for the Red. You really need to use the Red in conjunction with other hospital ships or hospitals on planets or moons, or even the Apollo to make it worthwhile in game. And
yeah, I'd definitely recommend that it's probably not the primary medical ship. I'd probably go for at least the Apollo before I went. This is like a secondary. It's like an additional ship you'd get on top of the Apollo if you're really into the Apollo.
If you're doing medical gameplay, the Red's just not worth it. You use the Red to supplement what you've already got, not if it's the only one you're going for. So no matter how good Cutlass could be, the Cutlass Red I'd pass on it.
All right, let's go on to the Cutlass Blue. So this is probably the premier ship for bounty hunting. It's got all the guns and that of the black, but then it gains 12, I guess, cells or pods for prisoners. It's also got a level 1 interdiction device, which makes it a little bit weaker than the Mantis, but really it just allows you to stop people from leaving, which is all you really kind of want to do. You're a police officer, that is, so to speak. And obviously,
police officer.
Yeah. And it's also got the better cockpit, which I really kind of wish they all had that cockpit, because it's a very, very nice cockpit in comparison to the other 2.
It's strutless. It's gorgeous. It really is a nice cockpit.
And still got 12 SC of cargo. So,
yeah. Yep. It's still got the 12 SU cargo. The interesting thing is the interdiction device doesn't seem to take up any room. It's in the roof. You don't lose any of your gameplay area. The ship itself didn't really seem to grow significantly to count it to take the place of that interdiction device, unlike the Mantis, which basically takes up the whole of the rear of the ship. It also feels more agile than the other Cutlasses. So if you're going for a Cutlass and you want to go into that gameplay of being a bounty hunter, then it's certainly worth looking at.
Well, let's go back and talk about the gameplay for each of them now. So I guess the black is really the most versatile, and in the ship itself in the game right now, it's probably the best ship in the game versatility wise. You can do all the box missions, you can do cargo, you can do combat. You can even get some vehicles in there. Yeah, so the black for me right now at this very moment, I have one. I know Algared's got one. Do you have one, Osiris, as well? A black at the moment?
I don't at the moment. I most of my fleet is store credit and CCUs. But since you're talking about the black's gameplay, it's also worth mentioning that it has that tractor beam, which is going to revolutionize piracy gameplay when it comes online. That's going to be a way better situation than EVAing out, grabbing one box at a time.
And I think it's certainly better in that regard than the Freelancer, which it's often compared against. And people will often go, Freelancer's better than the Cutlass.
Yeah.
They're comparable in their weapon loadout.
We'll compare it to the Freelancer at the end, because that's something we've got on our notes. So we'll do it then. But yeah, he is correct. The gameplay for the Freelancer at the moment is pretty much done. There's not really much more to add for that. But with the Cutlass, the real thing is not having those tractor beams. And until you can really have all those benefits of two ships that you can compare online, you can't really 100% compare them, can you? So, and that, I think that gameplay also carries a little bit onto the red, because you'll be able to tractor beam the bodies as well. And I think the turret has the ability to actually tractor beam as well, which will, pulling bodies in will be one thing. The Apollo obviously has the drone that can collect people and deliver them straight to the bed, though. So I think it's going to be a bit more, still a little bit manual, because think about it, you get the body to the door, you're still going to have to pick up the body, and with that new drag system, you're going to drag it to the bed, and put them on the bed. So you can see the awkwardness I'm talking about, where the bed just
do no harm, right?
Yeah, the body's just delivered with the Apollo straight to the bed. It's like, oh, cool, excellent. Don't even have to touch him.
Flopping around.
Yeah. And the drag's like, oh, get over here on the bed.
And it raises the question, the issue you were talking about before, Osiris, where there's no gurney, and so once you've got them to the hospital or the clinic or wherever you're going, how do you get them off? Do you drag them off again?
No,
so it's a real
not clear yet.
The red's really in a case where there's no gameplay really in game. Yeah, that's just still coming, and so it's so hard to actually even.
It's probably the most setback of the three, just due to gameplay reasons. So yeah. So let's talk about Blue and a bit of its gameplay. I think, I can see this being teamed up with Avengers to play your cop cars. So you'd have your Avengers that are basically, because they're meant to be in interdiction ships as well. You'd probably have the Cutlass Blue at the black sitting there holding you, stopping you from going to warp, and there'd be kind of like the cop cars, and this is more like the paddy wagon, especially with the 12 cells in the back. You guys kind of agree with that? It's a cop car versus a paddy wagon type of scenario?
I think it certainly is your prison transport. And I can see, in terms of gameplay, now that we've got our prisons in, I can see them being missions where you're actually paid to pick up this prison from here, deliver it to the prison system. Even if just NPCs, not talking players, not even talking catching a player, just almost like a cargo mission.
And counter that, they will have other missions for other people to come and stop you. Much kind of like the Caterpillar mission. No, 100% agree. Osiris, you were trying to say, sorry?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm just going to piggyback on what Algared just said, is that it doesn't, we kind of talked about this before the show, but it doesn't really make much sense to have you just going out and collecting bounties and just leaving them in the back of your Blue until you fill up all 12 pods and then go drop them off. It's not a secure enough ship to resist the people that are going to come at you and try to break those people free. Yeah, and we know that that's coming based on that Caterpillar mission, which is recently introduced to the game. So it's really, I think, going to be, like you said, Algared, it's going to be about NPC prisoner transport.
And I wonder how limited that is, though. How many of those missions are you going to be able to do before you get a bit bored and move to the dark side with the ship? And I think that's the other side of it, is I can actually see this ship running with a few Cutlass Blacks, and if they manage to catch someone, it'll hold them there and be the primary target, because obviously if that's killed they can leave, but then the other Cutlass Blacks will be at the front protecting the ship to try and hijack, ambush, attack whoever they are, and then basically steal the goods and get out of there. So I actually think it has exactly the same level of guns as the Black, so there's no real reason for it to run from a fight.
It's not like the Mantis.
No.
You could use the Mantis in the same role, but you start gunning for the Mantis, and the Mantis has to POQ because there's nothing it can do. This, it's got its missiles. It's got, 6 size 4 missile loadouts. That's huge. It's got its forward guns. It's got its turret.
So let's talk a little bit about the prices, because I think there's a real big jump, especially when it comes to the blue. So you got 110. I think it's 125 for the red, and then it's like, what is it, 180 for this one, or 175? It's
175 for the blue.
It's quite a substantial jump, and I think we can all safely say that it shouldn't have jumped that high, but it did because of the Mantis. I think it's very obvious that the Mantis has affected the price of this ship fairly negatively. And I don't think it's worth it at 175, considering you can get a Cutlass Black for 110. That's quite a substantial increase for the very little gain, and you actually have a loss too, because you can't have the versatility of the other one. If you could have the Black and have the interdiction device without the cargo, without the cells, or you had the option to remove the cells from this, like you can from the Stalker, this ship would be amazing. I actually think if they made it so you could take the pods out, this would probably be my favourite Cutlass. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
It would certainly be nice if you could take half the pods out and then have extra cargo. I know early on when they were talking the red, black, and the blue, and certainly the red and the blue early on, people were saying, "Hey, can I take one bed out and put some pods in, or can I take some pods out and put a bed in, or can I just take them out and have cargo?" And back in the day, that was something that would have been possible.
Yeah,
is that still possible?
To be fully modular once upon a time when modularity was still a thing.
Is that still possible? We have no idea. But I think CIG have moved further and further away from that modular aspect of gameplay.
So getting back to prices, how do you guys feel about the prices? As in, like, do you find the black and red are fair and the blue is overpriced like I do, or what's your thoughts on that? So, Osiris, what's your thoughts on pricing?
I'd say that we often recommend not to pledge for ships under $200, right? But some people don't spend that much money in the game, and in that case, the Cutlass Black is probably an okay pick if you're going to have one ship or you're going to have a very inexpensive fleet. I don't know, based on the reasons we discussed, I don't know that there's any value in the red. It's not a good ship by itself. It's dependent on more medical infrastructure.
Agreed.
And the Cutlass Blue is a bit pricey, although there's better gameplay options with it. I'd say it's probably not worth the price point. I'd earn it in game.
If your mates all had Cutlasses, I think one of you could have a Cutlass Blue. That's kind of how I'd kind of envision the blue, but in most cases, most people would just want a black if they're just going to have that one ship. That's my kind of take. Algared, what's your thoughts on the blue versus the black in that regard?
I think I'm going to echo Osiris' viewpoint. The Cutlass Black really is, I think, what we'd call an advanced starter. It gives you more versatility than the Avenger Titan. It's more pricey, but it's certainly in that range where if you're wanting to go up to the next level, that's probably an ideal ship. It gives you weapon firepower, cargo. It's got all the versatility and other stuff to do. And it'll probably be cheaper to repair in game.
You've just made me think of something, Aaron, and I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here. If you can have 100i under a 300i, then there definitely could be a Drake starter on the cards down the road. You've just,
bet my life on it.
Yeah, well, it might be something to look forward to. I'm interested to see what that'll turn out to be. Some people might say it's the Buccaneer, but it's the same price as this as well. And I can't recommend the Buccaneer at the same price as this. No way.
Well, you don't look. I don't think you look at the Buccaneer as a starter ship because
it was
a
made. You've never
when
seen
they split the roles of the ship.
That's pure fighter. I wouldn't count that either.
No.
It's been interesting to see if they end up making something like a mini Cutlass that's about Avenger size. I'll be curious to see.
A Ute.
All right, we'll have to talk about that after the show because I can see we're getting off tangent. But anyway, so let's
the red. I've already said I don't think it's worth it. It's cheap. It gives you the entry level to medical gameplay, but because it really supplements the other medical ships, and so it's a second one you get. It's not the first. Don't consider it. The blue, I don't think the price is really there. It would have been better if they didn't put the interdiction device on it, and then kept the price down.
Agreed.
And just gave it the pods. Having given it the interdiction device, they really needed to increase the price. Otherwise, why own a Mantis? And I think that's one of the reasons I've also said, it's only a size 1. And so it can't pull you out of warp. So I like the blue. I think it's more agile, or it feels more agile. It certainly looks better. It's got the best cockpit. But at the price and the reduced cargo capacity, and it's just not worth it. But it does have a good gameplay loop coming, certainly with prison systems and cargo.
To put it in a really simple way that people understand, this ship costs an extra Avenger, more than that, and you can't do that. I'd rather have a Cutlass Black and an Avenger than just a Cutlass Blue on its own. I think we'll kind of almost leave it at that. I really quickly do want to compare the Cutlass Black to the Freelancer because they're at the same price. And as we've kind of stated through the show, you can probably picture it together. For me, it's the kind of utilitarian Freelancer versus the combat-focused Cutlass Black. And obviously, the one thing we're kind of waiting on with the Cutlass Black is the tractor beams. So, Osiris, your thoughts and comparisons between those two, please.
Yeah, I mean, the Freelancer is a more durable and a tougher ship, and it's has a better cargo capacity, but it's lacking in the tractor beam is going to be open up gameplay possibilities that don't apply to every player, but for those that it does apply to, those, I mean, like, you can't put a price on having that functionality.
One thing I did miss too is it's 4 people versus 2. That's another thing to look at too. So if you want a cheaper man's 4-person vehicle, the Freelancer's the way to go. I should have mentioned that too. Algared, your thoughts on the... sorry, so you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. Algared, your thoughts on the Freelancer versus the Cutlass?
I actually think it's a poor man's Freelancer.
Okay.
Now, I know that they're the same price, but it takes less crew to fully man the Cutlass Black than you've got for the Freelancer. It does have less cargo. It does have less armor, so it's less durable, but it certainly has more. It's certainly got similar missile loadout, certainly got similar certainly other weapons. But where you get into that poor man's Freelancer is it's Drake. And Drake are renowned for being cheap ships and numerous cheap ships. And so that should translate to cheaper to repair in game. And so my view is, in terms of longevity, it'll be easier to repair a Drake ship and get parts for a Drake ship than it would be to, say, get parts for the Mist ship. And it's a bit like in Australia. You know, you get your car that's made in Australia or a car that's common in Australia, and getting parts for it is easy as. You get your German Audi, and getting parts for it becomes significantly harder. And I think that'll be the type of difference we'll see.
All right, so in summary, you guys can stop me if you think I'm wrong here, but we kind of recommend the black if over all 3 of them. If you only have one ship, Cutlass Black is a good way to go. Again, our general rule, if you have multiple ships, try and stay above $200 for ships, because they won't really retain their value, and something like the Cutlass Black will be easy to earn in game. But yeah, if you do have one ship and only want one ship, Cutlass Black is not a bad choice. Freelancer's not a bad one either, with exactly what Algared said. Anything else you guys want to add? Nope. He's been Algared. He's been Osiris Frost. Over and execute. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.
Take care. God bless.
See you later.
And be well.